So now I'm recording this session. So nothing like an impromptu catch up and a Q&A session during lockdown. Let me start by introducing myself. If you haven't met me already, my name is Julie Conradi. I'm the manager of the Building Solutions team at Southland District Council. We do have some other council staff on this call to make sure that we give you the right information, the answers that we give you are relevant, and just have a bit of a conversation. Actually, it's nice to catch up. So we do have Talita Aitken, who is our quality assurance lead within the BCA side of the building team. So we've been doing a little bit of advertising around a quality assurance email address where confidential concerns can be raised. And Talita is one of the ladies on the end of that. We also have Gary Bell, who is our administration team leader. So Gary also works within that quality assurance space and will help to resolve any of those confidential queries that you put through. We do also have some of our inspectors on. So I can see Lindsay or Percy from our Tianau office, and also Will Palmer, who's based in Invercargill. So thank you guys for attending. This is a bit of an impromptu session and it's very similar to last time. What we wanted to do though was open the opportunity to engage, interact, cover what level 3 actually looks like, cover some of the nuances that have changed since last time, and just be really conscious of the fact that as it's the Delta variant, central government are making decisions, excuse me, on a daily basis. And so we are reacting to those. We understand that alert level 4 in the South Island has been quite taxing on many of our businesses, and we're dying to get back to work. So how are we going to go about that in an intentional way, and how are we going to go about that complying with all of the requirements for building sites? So that's the intention of what we're going to cover today. So according to the regulations, inspections are able to recommence from the 1st of September, which is tomorrow. That's good news for all of us. And some of our team are already working really hard on reviewing what inspections were already booked before level 4 lockdown commenced, contacting you if you had an inspection already booked to find out if you would like that again. They're also reviewing previously scheduled inspections to see whether or not they should or could be done via a video conference approach. And if that's recommended, we'll be contacting you to suggest that and do a bit of a connectivity test with you on your site. The biggest what's new for us really at Council under alert level 3 with the Delta variant in the country is the requirement for face masks. Now, it's mandatory if you walk into any essential service. It's mandatory when you are having face-to-face contact with anybody out there. And so for us, face masks is going to be one of those components that we as a team are going to be adding. Our inspectors will be wearing a face mask to site, and anyone on site that's going to come will also need to have a face mask on as well. So we've talked about the 2 metre distance. Your site plans will talk about areas of the site where bubbles will be located to keep those bubbles segregated. So as far as face masks are concerned, if you have a robust approach to how you're going to keep distance and you have a bespoke plan for face masks, we're happy to comply with that. But we've made a decision within Council that for our approach, we will be wearing face masks to site, and we'll be expecting that those that we see on site would typically be close enough that they should be wearing a face mask as well. What's the same? Well, we do have a COVID control plan that's required on all sites. They've changed the name of it a little bit. This year it's called a control plan. And it really comes back to all of the health and safety requirements that aren't standard building safety. They are COVID-19 safety requirements for your site. Those plans have been updated. The date stamp for the protocols for the industry currently state the 20th of August, 2021. So if you haven't gone back and had a new look at that this year, we recommend that you do. They have been tweaked a little bit. There are a few streamlined approaches, but there's also more requirement for those items to be in place. Some of those changes include things like, and we've seen it on television, mandating a QR code to be scanned at the start of each site, as well as the sign-in register. So it seems like a little bit of double handling, but I think it's really important for each site contact to be able to contact those who have been at their site, in addition to central government and the Ministry of Health using that QR scanning code to contact their contacts. My understanding is that is why both are now required. Southland District Council staff will also be contact tracing. We've got a various number of ways that we do that. Our COVID control plan is available on our website, so you can go and have a look at that at any time. We have also revised and updated that plan according to the current requirements. We've also gone through it and reworded it a little bit so it's a bit easier to read, so that we are moving with the times and applying the feedback that's given to us. What we learned along the way last time is that we had a high volume of inspection requests that came in at level 3. Level 4 was a lot longer. It was a full month of lockdown. And so it appeared as though there was quite a bit of building work that could happen within bubbles. And so by the time we came to level 3, there was a lot of building work ready for inspections. The industry knew that, and a lot of people were booking 3 or 4 inspections for their site in advance. So they'd want their first inspection tomorrow or as soon as possible, and then the next one 4 days later, because they knew they'd be ready by then. And what we saw happened was some of the sites were booking when they were ready for an inspection, and the lead time for an inspection had pushed out quite a way, while other sites were getting 2 or 3 inspections in while others were waiting. So what we've done this time is we're requesting that you book only 1 inspection at a time for your site. Your building consent will state whether or not you can have a dual inspection. And so if you're booking a dual inspection, the 2 at the one time, that's fine. But for any particular site, if you're ready for an inspection, you book it. Once that inspection's been completed, then you can book your next inspection. We're going to trial that this time to make it fair to everybody in the industry to have the same access to inspections. And we're hoping that won't expand the lead time for booking an inspection as much as what did happen last year. Are there any questions on that before I move on? No? All righty then. I think my slides were the wrong way around then. All righty then. Video calls have been a hot topic in the last 12 months since COVID happened the first time. Our site plan, our controls plan, I should say, does specify the types of inspections that council believe could be completed by video and those that really can't. In some areas, we need to use equipment for our inspections like moisture meters, thermometers. We're required to have those calibrated, and those calibration records are audited by INs. So any inspections that require equipment like that to be used, we can't do via video inspection. We do need to do on site. Anything else, we're happy to talk to you about it. It may not be in the list, but if you absolutely are adamant that you want a video call inspection instead of an on-site, we respect that. That may be part of your COVID safety plan. Have a conversation with us. What we did learn last time though was the internet bandwidth is quite varied throughout the day as well as throughout the district. So we were finding we would do a test of bandwidth in the morning of an inspection while people were eating breakfast, for example. That would go beautifully. And then by 10 o'clock, when kids were doing online school or other people were watching online movies, the bandwidth would drop, and that same site would have terrible internet, very pixelated, and we couldn't actually go ahead with a video conference inspection. So we're happy to book those, we're happy to plan for them, but we are going to need a bit of back and forth communication. We're going to have to trial it and try to do those trial Zoom inspections at the same time of day as we're planning the inspection, because we did find there's a lot of variances there. I will say there was a lot of time that got wasted in trialing that last time. So I'm hoping that we've learned enough last time that we get straight onto it this time, and we can be a lot more efficient in those trials in figuring out if it's going to work or not, and then making the decision to move forward from there. Council is requiring that maximum of 2 meters distance at all times. That's meant to say minimum, I apologise. It needs to be that minimum 2 meters distance. COVID, especially the Delta variant, we're being told it's highly transmissible. We're going from site to site to site. We're trying to be really careful and respectful that we don't carry that across sites. So, you know, the preference is if somebody else is on site, they're completely across the other side of the site from where we need to be. If you don't need to be on site at all, that makes it much easier for all of us. We learned that one last time as well. So have your phone call with your inspector. That will be scheduled for the morning of your inspection. That's what we call a pre-inspection safety meeting. And talk about the hazards on the site, talk about who will be on the site. If there's a way that you can navigate it that nobody's on the site, your guys might go off and have their smoko break at that time. We found that as far as all of those safety measures are concerned, that is the most efficient and effective approach, if it's possible, but that's not mandated. As far as our practices are concerned, I think the key difference is the face mask that we'll be wearing on site. Everything else remains very similar to last year. We will be bringing you before the inspection to do that pre-inspection question and answer session, make sure that we understand the hazards, make sure we understand the safety protocols that you would like us to comply with, and also make sure that you understand the safety protocols we would like you to comply with. When we get to site, the inspector will sit in the car for a minute and just observe the site. If there's anything that's not in agreement with that conversation, they'll be giving that site manager a call and talking them through with that. Depending on how that call goes, we may need to schedule the inspection for another day, or we may be able to go ahead with it. As far as our own safety protocols are concerned, once an inspection's been completed, our inspectors, who will only be using our own equipment during an inspection, will be washing all of that equipment down before they put it back into their vehicle to make sure that we're not carrying equipment from site to site to site that hasn't been sanitised. But I suppose ultimately the safety of people comes first. If there's anything that we're doing on site that makes you uncomfortable, give us a phone call, talk to the inspector who's on site, not face to face, through the phone, and we'll work through that. Equally, if we're not happy with something, we'll give you a call, we'll talk through it. But I think being kind to each other throughout level 3, understanding that there are different levels of concern with the Delta variant around is going to be really important. And I say that because level 3 could happen, anything could happen. We don't have any COVID in the South Island that we're aware of right now. At any given time, that could change. And so there are going to be some people in the vulnerable category that will be really concerned and conscious about this. And there'll be others that are quite comfortable with moving ahead with a site as efficiently as possible. So what we're trying to do here is just get the right balance between the different levels of comfort that people have with COVID and making sure that we don't put people at risk. All right, before I go into sites that people are living in, have we got any other questions? No, all righty then. So our COVID control plan does also state what our procedures are if somebody's living in a site, but the key things you need to know are we will still require that maximum of 2 meters distance, and we will be talking to whoever's living in the site, their site representative, to make sure that they're able to comply with that. You may have packed up and left site if you're the builder. It may be, for example, a final inspection. And so we'll be requesting that only one other person be in the same room as us. Obviously, a homeowner is going to be more comfortable being around if someone's in their space. But we'll also be requesting that they wear a face mask as well as we will. So don't be surprised, our inspection booking sheets on our website have been updated to ask for the resident's contact details. If you've ticked that resident is living on site, we do need to have a conversation with them to make sure they understand our safety protocols and that we can comply with any safety requests that they may have. A COVID control plan is not required for a site that a professional is not returning to. I think that's the important thing to understand around level 3. If it's not an active building site, it is a home. It may be a final inspection, council may need to go there, but it's not an actual construction site anymore. And so the rules are slightly different. We are entering into a bubble. We do still need to perform inspections. But that safety agreement and plan is between essentially council and that homeowner. So I'll just give you that clarification. So as far as all sites are concerned, we are going to do our best to keep up. I think last year we received 122 inspection bookings in the first week of level 3, hoping it's not quite that intense this time. But that meant that our inspection timeframes did slide a bit. We were back into a week worth of booking rather than the 72 hours. So once again, we're not going to guarantee a 72-hour timeframe for booking. We are going to schedule you as soon as we can. We are going to give priority to anyone who had an inspection booked before we went into lockdown. And also, we're going to make sure that we've agreed and that we've reviewed your COVID plan and we're confident that that will keep our staff safe before we confirm your inspection booking. So definitely send through your inspection requests. That's now back open on our website. You can request the date and time of your inspection, but that won't be confirmed until both your COVID plan has been approved or endorsed, I suppose, for safety by council. And also we will shuffle that to find a date and time as close to your requested time as possible, whilst keeping in mind that some people did have inspections booked before lockdown started and they really do need to be prioritised. And our no fault cancellation policy is absolutely in place under level 3. If you need to ring up the minute your inspection's meant to start, the inspector may be driving down the road. If you've suddenly found out that there is illness on your site or someone who has been in contact with your site has fallen ill and is going to get a COVID test, please let us know. Please reschedule the inspection for a time after you've got the results of that COVID test. I'm quite sure that that's just common sense for all of us. So they were the key points I was going to cover. I'd love to open up to general conversation now, because the Delta variant has made a few tweaks and changes to the way central government certainly are responding. And it may have also changed the way you're planning to respond. So if you want to have a chat to council about your plans and our take on it, or further inquire about our plans, now is the time. Wow, no questions.
I might jump in here, Julie, and ask a few questions, which I think has come through from several people through our email. The question was, what if I've already sent a site safety plan in a previous lockdown?
Okay, that's a really good question. So in our last lockdown, we do still have copies of the site plans that you sent through. We are very conscious, though, that the requirements and the protocols have been updated since you sent those through. So we would be looking for a revised version to be submitted to council. It's been over a year, so any sites that were actively building at that time, most of those I would have thought would be finished. But if you are still going, please do relook at your your site safety plan from last year, refresh it to include the new requirements, even if the only new requirement is adding a face mask. It's your site, it's your responsibility to review those protocols. Those protocols have been updated, so council are looking for a revised date of issue of your plans to show that you have done your research, you do know what your current requirements are, and we're happy to review those again.
Right, the next question that we had is, what if I want to use the same site safety plan for all of my sites?
Excellent. So businesses that are working on multiple sites at once, I can see easily that you could each of those sites. We do need to be advised exactly which site your plan relates to. So when I read the protocols, it says that a site-specific plan is required. So if you specify at the top of your plan, or even in an email that that plan is attached to, exactly which building consent number and address that plan is in place for, that is fine. But if you don't give us the address, we can't just assume that because your business has submitted one plan, that that plan is in place across all sites. We're not allowed to do that. We need to be told which site that plan has been put in place on.
We had another question here. Will processing continue to happen? I'm waiting for some vetting. I've sent in a new application.
Absolutely. So our team are working really hard. We've not had a single minute off with COVID lockdown. We've been processing as we go, and we'll continue to do that. So our 20-day statutory timeframe is still in place. So you shouldn't see any change with that side of processing, whether it's a building consent or a co-compliance certificate application. That work is carrying on business as usual.
Thank you, Julie. And the last question I have is, what do I do if I'm not happy with the process that's happening for booking inspections and how my inspection was handled?
Okay, awesome. So we like feedback here at Council. We're constantly looking to improve our procedures. If you're not happy with the way that our procedures are working, you're always welcome to email through to the building-CS email address. If you want it to be more confidential, you can send that through to our Environmental Services Quality Assurance email address. And I'm happy to, I actually don't have that ready to put up on the screen. I don't know if you can do that, Talita, just so that people can copy that down.
Yep, I can do that. It's ES Quality Assurance at southlanddc.gov.nz. So I'll put that on the chat.
Perfect, thank you. The way that we are operating is our understanding of absolute compliance with the protocols and our responsibility operating essentially as a contractor coming onto your site. So if you have a different interpretation, we're open to conversation around that. We do have an incident management team who oversee our procedures and verify that they are compliant and comply with our health and safety requirements here at Council. So your feedback may be relevant just to the building team and our procedures, or they may be relevant for wider conversation with our incident management team or our health and safety team. But we're more than happy to take that feedback and have that conversation with you.
That was all the questions I had from previous emails.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Talita. I really appreciate it. Are there any other questions from the industry? It's been fairly quick lockdown. It's not been a lot of notice for this session. If you would like to have another one, feel free to email to building-cs@southlanddc.govt.nz and let us know. We're always happy to connect and interact. We just don't want to go overboard with that. We know you guys are really busy. Alrighty then.
There's a message coming from Richard saying, hi, Julie. I don't know if Richard wants to ask a question.
Will we use WhatsApp for video inspections? That's a good question. There's been a lot of debate on what is the right application for a video inspection. If your preference is for us to use that application or a particular application, let us know. We at the moment haven't invested in any particular application. What we have found last year is that some of those video-based applications take up less data than others and are easier to use. I can't remember if WhatsApp was one of those ones that had less data use and therefore was more successful or not. But we're certainly willing to trial that on your site.
Julie, if I can add to that, Will's probably a better person to speak to this, but the conversation, Richard, was around, we will get you to walk around your site and then specifically ask you to take pictures of specific items of interest. And those will be sent in to us after the video inspection.
No problem. All righty then. Are there any other questions or will we call it a day? If you do have any other feedback, I do encourage you to send it through. If collectively out in the industry, you'd love us to hold another Q&A session, please let us know. We're happy to do so. Per level 3 requirements, most of the council staff will still be working from home under lockdown. It is just our inspectors that will be going out and performing inspections on site where we can't do a video call inspection or another type of inspection. So we will see how we go with keeping business as usual happening. I will end the meeting there and thank you all for your time. I really do appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to our update, interact with us, and all the best out there. Enjoy getting back to your building sites tomorrow.